So I was crazy enough to buy this Category N crash damaged BMW M2 competition from an auction site for £17,000 plus fees, which brings it to just over £19,000. This is the latest updates for part 2 of this video, where we look at changing the rear subframe and getting the rear end of the car all straightened up. So welcome back to what is part 2 of the M2 competition rebuild series. Today's video, the intentions are to get the rear subframe off, get it replaced with the new or second-hand M3 subframe that I've got, and we'll get that back on the car. I've already removed the exhaust yesterday, so that was a bit of a nightmare. Didn't bother filming it, so apologies for that, but I've managed to tuck it neatly under the Mini that is in my garage. Big old lump of a thing, so we can get straight into the subframe. So the first part of this long process was to disassemble the rear end. So this included removing all the suspension arms, the hub, the drive shafts from the diff, the brake calipers, and any other associated parts and wiring. I also attempted to remove the prop shaft from the rear diff, so I spent £18 buying a spanner from Amazon that would fit the nut. However, no matter how hard I tried, I could not undo the nut. I think this is a job that can only be achieved on a 4-poster ramp. There was no way this was going to happen on axle stands. So when I realised that I was not going to be able to do it, I had to remove the heat shields underneath the car to allow the prop shaft to lower down as I lowered the rear subframe. So after all of that, we're now going to attempt to replace the rear subframe. So we're hopefully going to get the old one dropped down, and then I've got behind me here the replacement one from an M3, and we're going to get that fitted. So fingers crossed that goes well. So the current update is I've managed to unbolt everything. The subframe is out. I've got all the cables disconnected, and it's just a case now of waiting for an extra pair of hands to come and help me lift it, because I can't lift the subframe up and over the diff. So if I just spin the camera around to show you that. So it's all unbolted there. I've left the diff connected because I just couldn't physically undo that nut. So all the brackets for the diff are all unbolted now. It's all loose. I just need to hope that there's enough clearance to lift it up, over and out the back. So let's see how that goes. So after a long couple of hours, the rear subframe has been finally replaced. Now I've got the old one off. You can see the damage and the reason that we replaced it a little bit clearer. So it's quite minor damage really. If I compare it to the other side, that's how it should look. But I didn't want to risk repairing it and then not doing it right. So for the sake of a couple of £100, I just thought it was worth changing. So I've done that now, and it's just a case of swapping all of the arms over, getting the springs on, get all the hubs back on, discs, calipers, back wheels, and hopefully the back end is complete. It's quite difficult to film, so I've tried to do a little bit of a time lapse on when I was removing the subframe, but we ended up having a few issues. For instance, the bush that holds or supports the rear diff, that was a bit of a nightmare to get out of this one and then back into the other one. So yeah, I gave up on the filming for a little bit, so apologies for that, but we will try and film a little bit more of the reassembly process. So I'm making quite good progress putting the subframe and all the suspension arms back on. I've taken the opportunity, obviously, because one of the springs was completely missing from the rear. So I've taken the opportunity to buy some nice second-hand eye-back lowering springs. I think it's going to make it look a lot better. But also I realised that I was missing the little rubber piece on the bottom of the spring and the top of the spring, because the spring had come completely out. So annoyingly, I've just discovered that they were the only bits I thought I needed, but then I've just looked on the driver's side, on the passenger side, and I'm also missing this nice little spring cup, which is really frustrating because it's now Easter bank holiday weekend and I can't get any parts until the bank holiday is over, so that's going to delay putting this back together temporarily, but we'll put everything back as far as we can, and then we'll try and get at least the passenger wheel back on and get this finished this week. So it's worth noting at this point, I've got a few replacement arms here. Probably easier if I turn it around. So we can see here, look, this one is the one with the slight bend to it, and then this is the replacement, but I've decided to go for used genuine ones so we get the proper M logo rather than going for cheaper aftermarket ones, because I think it's quite important on an M car. This is more of a banana now than it is a suspension arm, so that one's been replaced as well. That's going in the bin, that's going in the bin. We'll get this one fitted. We've got some new ones already here. This one is a replacement one here, and yeah, let's crack on. Pretty much got the passenger side all back together, looking nice. I've even cleaned up the brake disc using a rotary wire wool attachment for the drill, so that looks a lot better. All the arms are now straight, lowering springs on. This one is fully complete, and because I'm like a big kid, my new wheels have turned up and they look amazing, so I want to try one on here really quickly, and then I'm probably going to call it quits for this video. So thanks for watching, and join me again for part 3. Oh, that looks sweet. I can't wait to get the rest of them on now. Thanks for watching.